What you are about to hear is not a story from the past. It is not a forgotten chapter or an old photograph. This exists as we speak now, in a country that officially ended apartheid decades ago. There is a semi-country built on racial separation, with its own currency, its own flag, operating within the country. Only white people are allowed, no black is allowed to live there or own a property. This is happening right on African soil. Quiet, orderly, exclusive and deliberate. Its name is Orania, a semi-sovereign country inside South Africa. The road to Orania is long, flat and unforgiving. Dry land stretches to the horizon. The Orange River cuts slowly through dust. Wind moves through empty fields. There are no billboards, no welcome centers, no promises, just silence. And then a sign, simple, unassuming, Orania. This story does not begin with fences or soldiers or violence. It begins with fear. In the early 1990s, South Africa stood on the edge of transformation. Apartheid laws were collapsing. Political prisoners were released. Banned organizations returned to public life. In 1990, Nelson Mandela walked free. For millions, this moment represented hope, justice, and a future long denied. But for others, it represented uncertainty. For a small group of Afrikaners, it felt like an ending. An ending to political dominance, an ending to cultural certainty, an ending to control. Afrikaners are descendants mostly of Dutch settlers, with French and German roots. Their ancestors arrived in southern Africa as early as 1652. Over centuries, they developed a distinct identity, a language Afrikaans, a religion rooted in Calvinist Christianity, a culture built on land, family and self-reliance. By the late 20th century, that identity felt under threat. The coming democratic South Africa promised equality, but equality also meant Afrikaners would become a minority, and for some, minority status felt like vulnerability. One name appears again and again at the beginning of Orania, Karel Boshoff III. Boshoff was an Afrikaner intellectual, a cultural activist, and a prominent voice within nationalist Afrikaner circles. He was also the son-in-law of Hendrik Verwoerd. Verwoerd, the former prime minister, often described as the architect of apartheid. Boshoff believed that Afrikaner survival could not depend on political power. That era, he believed, was over. Instead, he argued for withdrawal, not domination, not resistance, but separation. Boshoff promoted the idea of Afrikaner self-determination, a community where Afrikaners could preserve their language, their culture, and their way of life without ruling over others. In 1991, Boshoff and a group of supporters identified a place, a neglected, economically failing settlement along the Orange River in the Northern Cape province. The land measured several thousand hectares. The settlement had been part of a failed irrigation project. Most people had left. Buildings stood empty. Infrastructure crumbled. The town was nearly forgotten. Its name was Orania. To most South Africans, Orania meant nothing. To Boshoff, it represented possibility. The land was purchased legally using pooled resources from Afrikaner supporters. There was no declaration of independence, no attempt at secession. Orania would remain inside South Africa, but it would be different. Legally, Orania would operate as a private town. Culturally, it would be selective. From the beginning, Orania established strict principles. There would be no outside labor. Every task, whether farming, construction, cleaning, or maintenance, would be done by residents. This rule was intentional. Supporters say it rejected the old apartheid system, where black labor supported white households. Critics argue that exclusion remained only reshaped. The first families arrived quietly. They repaired abandoned houses, fixed broken roads, restored basic services. There were no ceremonies, no announcements, only work. Orania did not grow quickly, and it was never meant to. Population growth was controlled, deliberate, measured. Preservation was the priority. To live in Orania, you cannot simply arrive. Even if you are a South African, you must apply. Applications are reviewed by the Orania Movement Council. Applicants must demonstrate alignment with Afrikaner culture, fluency in Afrikaans, and acceptance of the community's ideological foundations. There is no written rule that explicitly bans black South Africans, but in practice no black residents live there. Orania describes this as cultural self-determination. Critics describe it as exclusion. This distinction lies at the heart of the controversy. By the mid-1990s, Orania began to stabilize. Children were born, families settled, a routine emerged. The community needed schools. In 1991, Volksschule Orania was established. Education was conducted entirely in Afrikaans. The school followed South African academic standards, but history was taught through an Afrikaner lens. Stories of migration, conflict, survival, and identity. Later, a second school was founded, CVO School Orania, aligned with Christian national education. Faith played a central role. Religion shaped daily life, community events, family structure. Church attendance was high. Orania was and remains deeply conservative. Traditional family values, gender roles, and social norms. Changes slow by design. Healthcare followed education. Orania established its own medical clinic, staffed by qualified professionals who lived inside the town. Primary care, emergency response, elderly support. For specialized treatment, patients are airlifted to larger urban tertiary medical centers. Daily life in Orania is quiet. There is no nightlife, no political rallies, no tourism campaigns. Shops close early. Roads remain empty. Children cycle freely. Doors remain unlocked. Orania does not seek attention, but attention finds it, because Orania exists inside a country where separation once had a name, and memory does not disappear when laws change. Orania is not hidden. It is legal. It is functioning. It is real. And it forces a question that South Africa and the world continue to struggle with. Can separation exist without repeating history? Or has history simply learned to speak more softly? Orania did not survive on ideology alone. Belief can build a vision, but it cannot keep the lights on. From the beginning, Orania had to answer a practical question. How does a town remain separate without becoming dependent? The answer was control. Control of land, control of labor, control of money. Land came first. All property in Orania is privately owned, but ownership is not absolute. Buying property does not guarantee residence. Land is sold with conditions. Property owners must remain members of the Orania community. If membership is lost, property must be sold back into the system. This rule ensures that land remains inside the community. No external investors, no speculative buying, no silent ownership. The land is not just soil, it is identity. Farming forms the backbone of Orania's economy. Small-scale agriculture, livestock, irrigation crops along the Orange River. There are no massive commercial farms, no corporate agriculture. Work is done by residents, families, neighbors. Manual labor is part of daily life. This is intentional. Orania rejects the historical model where white households relied on black labor. Supporters describe this as ethical self-sufficiency. Critics argue that exclusion remains only reshaped. Beyond farming, small businesses developed. Construction firms, repair workshops, local shops, professional services, teachers, doctors, engineers, all living inside the town. There is no commuting workforce. If a skill is missing, the community trains it. If training fails, growth pauses. Orania prefers limitation over dependence. Money presented a challenge. Using the national currency meant relying on national systems. In 2004, Orania introduced something unusual, a local currency, the Ora. The Ora is not a replacement for the South African rand. It cannot be used outside the town, but inside Orania it circulates. Residents can exchange rand for Ora at equal value. Local businesses accept it. Wages can be paid in it. The purpose is simple. Keep money inside the community. When money circulates locally, it strengthens internal trade and reduces leakage. The Ora has faces, numbers, designs. But more importantly, it has symbolism. It represents economic independence, not separation from the state, but insulation from it. Alongside the aura came financial institutions. Orania established a community cooperative bank. It offers savings, loans, mortgages only to members. The bank funds housing, businesses, infrastructure. No external shareholders, no distant investors. Decisions are made locally. This system has limits. Growth is slow, capital is finite. But Orania accepts this. Expansion is not the goal, stability is. Symbols matter. As Orania grew, it developed visual identity. A flag, orange, white, blue, with a rising sun. The symbolism is deliberate, a new beginning rooted in tradition. Statues followed, monuments to Africana historical figures. Commemorations marking cultural milestones. These symbols draw criticism. To some, they preserve heritage. To others, they echo a painful past. Orania does not remove them. It contextualizes them internally. Public holidays follow Africana tradition. Language is protected. Afrikaans is used in schools, churches, administration. English exists, but it does not dominate. This linguistic insulation reinforces cultural continuity. Population growth remained controlled. In the late 1990s, Orania had only a few hundred residents. By the early 2000s, numbers rose steadily. By the mid-2010s, Orania surpassed 2,000 residents. Growth remains deliberate. No mass housing developments, no urban sprawl. New residents must integrate, not transform. Governance is local. Orania has its own town council, elected internally. No payment, no sitting allowance. The council oversees membership, land allocation, infrastructure, but ultimate authority still lies with South African law. Orania pays taxes. It follows national regulations. It is not a sovereign state yet. Until it gets international recognition as a sovereign nation, it exists within the South African system. This legal position protects it, but also limits it. The national government has challenged Orania at times, but courts have consistently ruled that private association and property rights apply. As long as Orania does not violate constitutional law, it may continue. This legal tolerance is controversial. Some argue it reflects constitutional freedom. Others argue it exposes constitutional blind spots. Inside Orania, life continues quietly. Children attend school, farmers work the land, businesses open and close. There are no political rallies, no public demonstrations. Orania avoids confrontation. It does not seek converts. It does not campaign. Those who arrive come deliberately. Those who criticize often observe from afar. Media attention fluctuates. Sometimes Orania is ignored. Sometimes it becomes a headline. Each time the same questions return. Is this preservation or resistance? Is this cultural survival or silent defiance? Orania does not answer publicly. It continues instead, because Orania is not designed to convince. It is designed to endure, and endurance requires discipline, limits, boundaries, and patience. But endurance alone does not erase history, and history remains present, not in speeches, but in silence, not in slogans, but in structure. Orania stands as a place where the past was not rejected, but carefully contained. To understand Orania, you must slow down, not just in speech, but in expectation. Nothing here moves quickly. The days begin early, sunrise over dry land, farm gates opening, children walking to school. Life follows routine. Routine is comfort. For older residents, routine represents survival. Many arrived carrying memories. Farm attacks, economic uncertainty, cultural displacement. Some lost businesses, others lost neighbors, others lost trust. For them, Orania is refuge, a place where doors feel safer, where language is never questioned, where history is familiar. They speak of continuity, of preserving something fragile. But Orania is no longer only their town. A new generation has grown up here. Children born after Apartheid, teenagers with smartphones, young adults who know a very different South Africa. For them, Orania is normal. It is home. They speak Afrikaans naturally. They attend the same schools. They share the same values. But their questions are quieter and more complex. Some leave to study in cities. Universities in Bloemfontein, Stellenbosch, Pretoria. There, they encounter difference. Languages, opinions, perspectives. Some return more convinced than before. Others return changed. And some do not return at all. This generational divide is subtle, rarely spoken aloud, but it exists. Young residents ask questions, older generations never did, about visibility, about connection, about the future. Orania encourages commitment, but it does not force it. Leaving is allowed. Returning is conditional. This creates tension, not open conflict, but quiet distance. A pause in conversation, a hesitation in tone. Inside Orania there is order, but outside the world watches. Media attention comes in waves. International journalists, documentary crews, curious visitors. They arrive asking the same questions. Is Orania racist? Is it legal? Is it apartheid reborn? Orania responds carefully. Spokespeople emphasize law culture and self-determination. They avoid confrontation. They speak calmly, measured, precise. They insist. They do not hate. They insist. They are not superior. They insist they are simply separate. Critics remain unconvinced. Human rights groups argue that exclusion does not require violence, that power can exist without shouting. They point to land history, economic inequality, and structural legacy. They argue that separation in South Africa can never be neutral, because history is not neutral. Some black South Africans see Orania as provocation, others as irrelevance. Many are simply indifferent. Daily struggles, crime, employment, education command attention elsewhere. Orania becomes background noise. Occasionally, politicians speak. Usually during election seasons, statements are cautious. South Africa's constitution protects freedom of association. Courts have upheld Orania's legal status, as long as no explicit racial laws exist. This legal balance creates frustration. For some, it represents tolerance. For others, avoidance. Inside Orania, the debate feels distant. There are no protest banners, no counter-marches. Life continues. Children grow older. Businesses open and close. Crops rise and fall. The town expands slowly. New houses, carefully planned. No high-rises, no sprawl. Growth is controlled, deliberate, because Orania fears dilution, not just of number, but of meaning. Symbols are guarded, language is guarded, memory is guarded, but guarding something requires constant effort, and effort requires belief. As years pass, that belief is tested by globalization, by the internet, by exposure. Young residents see the world, they compare. Some feel strengthened, others feel confined. The future of Orania depends, not on courts or critics, but on children who did not choose it. Will they stay? Will they preserve? Or will they reinterpret? This question remains unanswered, because Orania is still young, barely 3 decades old. Its founders are aging. Their certainty is not inherited automatically. Identity must be taught, chosen, renewed. Orania does not collapse dramatically, it does not provoke, it persists quietly. That quiet is what unsettles, because it forces a reflection, not just about Orania, but about South Africa, a nation built on unity, still navigating difference, a country where separation was once enforced, now negotiated. Orania does not shout its existence, it waits. And waiting can be more powerful than protest, because waiting assumes time is on its side. Whether time agrees remains unknown. Orania does not exist outside the law. It survives because of it. From the beginning, its leaders understood that legality would be protection. South Africa's constitution is one of the most progressive in the world. It promises equality, dignity, and freedom. But it also protects freedom of association and property rights. These protections create space for communities to define themselves. Orania exists inside that space, Over the years, the South African government has questioned Orania. Investigations were opened, statements were made, but no decisive action followed. The courts became the final arbiters. Repeatedly, judges ruled that Orania's structure does not violate the constitution, as long as membership decisions are not written explicitly in racial terms. This legal reality creates discomfort, because legality does not always align with moral clarity. Supporters of Orania argue that freedom means the right to choose separation. They point to cultural communities around the world, language enclaves, religious settlements, indigenous reserves. They ask why Afrikaner self-determination is treated differently. Critics respond that history matters, that land in South Africa is not neutral, that exclusion cannot be separated from legacy. This tension has no simple resolution. Orania does not engage in national politics. It does not campaign. It does not endorse parties. It remains inward-facing. But its existence is inherently political because it challenges the promise of a shared future. Beyond South Africa, Orania attracts global attention. International media describe it variously. A town frozen in time, a cultural experiment, a provocation. Some comparisons are made to religious communes, to linguistic enclaves, to separatist movements elsewhere. But Orania rejects comparison. It insists it is unique, a product of South African history. The future of Orania is uncertain, not because it is collapsing, but because continuity depends on choice. Children born in Orania inherit a structure, but belief must be renewed. Each generation must decide whether preservation is worth isolation, whether safety outweighs engagement, whether identity can survive without exchange. Technology erodes boundaries. The internet reaches Orania. Phones connect its youth to global culture. Exposure creates questions. Questions create friction. Some residents speak quietly about adaptation, about selective openness. Others resist. They fear that compromises erosion. This internal debate remains largely private. Orania prefers silence to spectacle. Time passes, founders age, leadership transitions. The town remains, not growing rapidly, not shrinking, holding. Orania does not predict the future. It reflects the present, a world where diversity and separation coexist uneasily, where borders are no longer drawn by force, but by choice. Orania asks whether choice can be truly free when history shapes every option. It does not offer answers. It simply exists, a quiet town on dry land, a place where identity was not dissolved but protected, where the past was not erased but carried. Whether Orania will be remembered as preservation or as refusal will depend not on headlines, but on time, because time is the only judge that cannot be appealed. This is Orania, not a country, not a myth, but a mirror. And what it reflects depends entirely on where you stand.